What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel here. I got Nugget with me again. She's going crazy. She gets fixed on the 24th, and right now she's in heat. And I don't know if you guys have ever had a cat. She's crazy. That's in heat, but she won't stop meowing. She's walking around the house making all kinds of noise. If you guys watched the last video, you already know that she likes to make a lot of noise. So she's been making like twice as much noise. Cannot wait to get her fixed. That way we can let her outside. We want her to be an indoor-outdoor cat. I'm not a huge fan of indoor cats. For one, litter box, can't do that anymore. I want her to be going outside. Number two, a cat is naturally, you know, they like to live outside, they like to hunt, they like to do stuff like that. So she is going to get fixed here next week, and I'm sure she's not real excited about that, but she's going to be able to go outside and hunt and do all kinds of stuff that she probably wants to do. But anyway, right now she is being a little weirdo, running around the house meowing a bunch. So I'm going to put her down. But anyway, guys, so what we got today in store for today's video, we got a couple cool topics. I want to talk about, hold on, let me put this cat out there so I can get the meowing beast out of here so I can tell you what today's video is going to be about. All right, cat. You did your intro. Now you get to hang out here. All right, guys, so a couple cool topics today that I want to talk about. This is kind of how I'm going to do some videos right now until the season gets rolling, and then when I get back, I'd like to continue these kind of videos where I just sit down and kind of talk about topics, answer some questions that you guys might have, and go over a variety of different things. Not really necessarily have a specific topic in mind for these types of videos, just kind of touch base on a number of different things. But first things first, I want to give Gary Schroeder a big shout out. I think his YouTube handle is Gary Schroeder 3242. But anyway, Gary made a comment in the last video saying to try turmeric for my back. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I'm dealing with some lower back stuff, a bulging disc. And Gary mentioned to try turmeric, and he said 3,000 milligrams a day. Kind of looked into it. That was pretty normal. That was like a daily dose. It was about 3,000 milligrams a day. And oh my gosh, I think I started taking it 4 days ago. Gary, thank you so much. It has made it's a life-changing thing. I mean, I seriously have gone from probably like, I don't even know, just on a percentage scale, I was like, you know, if I was at, you know, I don't know, 20% of my full like potential. I feel like right now physically I'm at like 90%. So whatever that difference is, 70% increase. I cannot thank you enough, Gary. I believe it's all due to the turmeric. I really haven't changed anything else in my day-to-day activity. Been working out like I had been. I actually yesterday got on the treadmill and I was walking, and I had been just walking. If you guys follow me on Instagram, yeah, you saw that I was posting on my story and stuff about walking on the treadmill. Well, yesterday I got on there and I was walking and I was like, gosh, this feels so easy and so good. I don't have any pain. I'm going to try jogging. And I cranked it up a little bit and I started jogging and I was like, my gosh, this feels really good. I hope I don't regret this tomorrow. And I woke up this morning pain-free, didn't feel anything from jogging yesterday. Went back to the gym today, jogged some more for a longer distance, and I feel great again. So thank you so much, Gary. That is awesome. If you guys are dealing with any kind of joint inflammation, mine was in my back, but if you guys, I had a guy on Instagram reach out to me. He had some knee stuff going on, and I was saying, man, you should try this turmeric. I bet it would help with your knees too. So anyway, guys, that is awesome. Really awesome that helps so much. I'm also going to quickly announce the winners of the giveaway. SGW Outdoors 2586. You're the winner of one $25 McDonald's gift card. And then Mark Chevrier 8545. You're the winner of the other gift card. So I'll reach out to you guys independently of the video. That way you guys know that you won. All that I'm going to ask for is a shipping address, and that's it. Your name and your shipping address, and I'll send you guys this gift card out. I got them sitting here behind me on top of one of these little containers. But anyway, other points in this video that I'm going to go over. I have a focal point. I want to kind of have one focal point per video like this where I kind of talk about a specific thing on the water. Like a lot of it's going to be more mental stuff, but I will talk about like baits and time management and you know, when I decide to pick something else up versus something. Basically, it's going to be just a point of talking. So anyway, I'm going to go over one thing. Today's focus is going to be focus. I'm actually going to talk about focus on the water. So we're going to get into that here in just a moment. And then I want to branch into seasonal patterns on Lake Guntersville, because I had a guy reach out to me on Instagram asking me about sort of seasonal patterns on the lake right now, what I'm doing, how I'm catching fish. Been out there a lot, been catching a lot of fish. Haven't been catching a lot of giant fish, but I've been catching a ton of fish, like averaging from, I don't know, 15, probably more like 20 to 50 fish per trip. And that's been for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks. Another cool thing I want to go over is I just got a whole box of Nishine Lure Works product in. I'm going to kind of show you guys some of the cool stuff that I got, some of the stuff that I'm excited to throw this year, and some of my favorite items that Nishine Lure Works makes. So look forward to that here shortly. And then the only other thing that I'd like to focus on in today's video, I just was looking through comments before I jumped on here and did this video from my last video that I just did. And one of the comments was about Fish Monkey gloves and Fish Monkey items that they make. A gentleman reached out to me. Let's see, Don Lebel, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Lebel 343. He made a comment asking me to talk about some of their products. So I've got a handful of their products over here that I really like, and I think towards the end of the video I'm going to get into that and kind of go over what it is that I like from Fish Monkey gloves. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into the focal point of today's video, and that is going to be my focus on the water and why I think it is so important to focus on the water. And what I mean by that is not just focusing on like every cast and what your bait's doing, but focusing on yourself and just you in that moment. One of the things, I fished with a few different people, and over the past, I don't know how many years I've been bass fishing. Over the past, gosh, I guess I started when I was probably 11 or 12. No, I started tournament fishing when I was like 12, so maybe around 10 or 11 I started bass fishing. And as I was, when I was younger, starting to get into it, and even up until probably just 4 or 5 years ago, right before I started fishing professionally, one of the things that I used to do, and I notice a lot of anglers do this, is they pay attention to other people on the water. I live on Guntersville, and I spend a lot of time on Guntersville, and I notice that there's all kinds of boats out there fishing all the time, and a lot of the times you're fairly close to guys. I mean, within a reasonable distance to where you can kind of see what they're doing to an extent. And I recommend you guys don't even just zone it out. Don't even pay attention to them. Just don't focus on them. Don't pay attention to what they're doing. Obviously if you're in a tournament and you're practicing and you're kind of in an area and you want to see if there's some fish around, keep an eye on the guy if he's catching some fish and use that to your advantage as far as information goes for the tournament. But as far as like on the water, trying to better your day by watching someone else, I'd say nix that. Don't do that. Try to focus on what you're doing. Focus on every cast you make. If you're not getting bites, don't try to look for someone else's success to like feed off of. Try to create your own success. So that's what I mean by focus. Pay attention to what it is you're doing. Typically speaking, it's hard to catch another guy's fish. So what I mean by that is if you see a guy catching fish, doing something like you can tell he's throwing a chatterbait, or maybe he's throwing a frog, or maybe he's deep cranking, whatever it is that he's doing, you see that, it's really difficult to go replicate that pattern yourself. A lot of the times there's nuances to that technique. Maybe he's reeling it and stopping the crankbait, reeling it and stopping it, and they're all eating it on the stop. And if you're not in the boat watching that, even if you are, odds are there's such a nuance to that retrieve that it's like, that's when he's getting that bite. If you try to, to like go do that pattern, you're not going to have that tidbit of information, and you're better off just trying to make your own pattern, make your own bite. So that's my big point from today's video, is focus on yourself, focus on what you're doing on the water, and don't worry about anybody else. So that's it with that one. I want you guys to take that and let that digest, and when you go back out on the water, focus on what you're doing. Don't pay attention to other boats. Create your own bite, and make it your day, make it your pattern. Don't feed off of other people. And even, I mean, that even goes for when you get off the water. If you ask people how they did, take it with a grain of salt. Take what you can for your benefit, but don't completely take what other people say. A lot of the times it's exaggerated. It's not fully true. but maybe there's little tidbits of that conversation that you can kind of, you know, glean things from. But anyway, guys, that's my point. Focus on yourself. All right, guys, so I want to get into fishing Guntersville right now. I'm going to talk about pretty much from the second week of December, third week of December, all the way till now, like the middle of January. And I think this is going to be kind of a thing that'll probably last into the next, I don't know, month. So this is going to be kind of your early winter. Let's call it early winter, late fall, early winter type pattern. I'd say more early winter where we're going to focus on. So a couple of the things that I like to focus on is either grass or like creek edges or bluffs. So those are the kind of my focal points this time of the year. When I'm fishing grass, I'm fishing like edges of the grass. I'm not fishing up on top of a big. So a lot of times on Guntersville, you've got these massive flats of eelgrass. This time of the year, the most prevalent grass that's still alive is the eelgrass. And a lot of the times those fish aren't just going to swim on top of it. They're going to be right on that edge. So like what I like to look for is either side scan or use your active target, or if you've got live scope, whatever forward facing sonar you've got. I like to look at my map, look for contours changes. So what I'm talking about is like, you know, if you're from Texas, you know the term drain. A drain is still something that you can target on Guntersville or any other lake for that matter. And it kind of goes for a lot of fisheries this time of the year, and target those drains. What I mean by a drain is it's basically just like a pocket or a cove, and all you're doing is fishing those contours where it kind of turns into like a, you know, the bottom of that bowl. So you follow that pocket out, and where that grass falls off in that like 8 to 12 foot zone, right where that grass stops growing, you'll get that little ditch, and those fish will typically sit in that ditch. You can yo-yo a lipless crankbait. One of my favorite lipless crankbaits for doing this technique is this guy right here. This is, if you guys follow me on social media, or if you've seen some of my videos from last year, you guys know that I've caught them really good on this on Guntersville. This is the Nishine Lure Works Simcoe 75. This one here I believe is called Hot Tiger, this color. This one's really good this time of the year. It's a red color. Another one that's really good, probably my favorite, is this guy right here. This is BPB Chartreuse Shad. I've probably said that more than just about any color. It's a really good color, guys. I love this bait. This bait is really good. What I like about this bait is it's got some eelgrass just fell off of one of these. What I like about this bait is it's got a really thin profile. So if you guys look at that right there, it's super thin, so it cuts through the grass really well. It also comes stock with really good hooks on it. These are Ichikawa treble hooks, and they're kind of a cross between a round bend and an EWG treble. They're super sharp and they're slick coated, so they're going to penetrate really well even in the cold water. When the water gets cold, the bass get harder mouths, and so the sharper, more slick coating on your hook is going to be better. It's going to penetrate that fish's mouth better and keep that fish pinned up and hooked. So that's a big deal for me. It comes with good split rings, great hooks. Also comes with a really high quality snap on there. It's got 2 points of line tie. If you're in clearer water, I recommend going to the front line tie. It's going to create a tighter vibration. And if you're in a little bit more stained water, typically Guntersville, a little bit more stained water, I like that back line tie. So I'm going to start on that back one. Maybe if you're fishing in a really clear area down by Honeycomb, or let's see, maybe in the back of like Siebold or something, but you know, if you haven't had a lot of rain, that front line tie might be a better option for you. But that is a great bait for fishing in those drains. It's also a great bait for just kind of casting and winding on points of eelgrass, humps, anything like that. Those are also really good areas to target fish this time of the year, points and humps. So that's kind of a pattern that I like to run. You can run that all over the entire lake. You can also do that. Kind of a nuance to that technique is up the river. If you go up from about waterfront to the BB Comer Bridge, you've got a lot of shallower bars on the main river. So what I mean by that is like you've got your main river channel winding through, and then right off the edge of the main river channel, you've got flats. And those flats may only be 3 to 10 feet deep. And you've got eelgrass scattered throughout those flats, eelgrass and a variety of other grass, you know, coontail, pondweed, a bunch of other stuff, some hydrilla, probably not much milfoil on the main river, primarily hydrilla, coontail and eelgrass. So anyway, what you're looking for is you're looking for little dips, same kind of deal, little depressions on that main river flat, or little jut outs where maybe the river channel juts out just a little bit more than the next spot, and it kind of creates a current break, or it creates a little bit of an eddy, or it creates just a little bit of a slack spot for those fish to basically hold up in. You throw that trap and you can kind of just cover water, and you'll end up finding these areas. It's not something you're really going to find graphing. I mean, you can, it's just really shallow water. So you're more, I don't know, you're more effective if you just kind of put your lipless in your hand, your Simcoe in your hand with your, your rod, and you just kind of cover some water. So a couple other techniques. Oh, and also with this Simcoe, I like to throw it on 16-pound fluorocarbon, and I throw it on a 7'8" medium heavy, and this is an M1 series Phoenix rod. So I use the M1 7'8" medium heavy for the lipless crankbait, and 16-pound fluorocarbon. This is a 7:1 gear ratio reel, and I think that's pretty much a perfect setup for that lipless crankbait. This rod is not going to be like a lot of guys like a glass rod for a lipless. When you're fishing Guntersville, I'd recommend not throwing a glass rod. You're going to be fighting the grass a lot. You're going to be trying to get that grass off of there, and that rod's going to be giving too much and not allowing you to really snatch that grass off the hooks really good. So that just regular graphite rod, it's really going to allow you to snatch that grass off the hooks almost immediately and clear that bait, so you can always feel it vibrating. But yeah, don't forget to kill the bait every once in a while. Let that thing sink to the bottom on kind of a tight line, and yeah, keep that thing down by the grass and snatch it off that grass and hold on. You're going to get eaten. Okay, so another really effective technique this time of the year. If you guys don't like to throw this, don't worry. I've got another bait that I'm going to show you that'll work in the same places. But that is this guy here. This is the Alabama rig. I've kind of got him jammed up on this reel right now with all the hooks, but I will untangle him to show you how I have him set up. So right now I've got him set up with Kitex on here. These are good. They're a little bit more natural swimming action. But if we were dealing with some really stained water on Guntersville, I'd probably, I'd go to the Gambler Little Easies and the Gambler Teasies. They've got a little bit stiffer, harder plastic, which is going to create a little bit harder vibration. These are going to have a little bit more natural kind of sweeping, swimming action, which is, I think, better in a little bit clearer water. When that water gets a little bit more colored up, that Little Easy or that Teasy gambler bait are really good on the Alabama rig. One of the things I will let you know is you want to set your rig up with pretty much, this is how I've had it set up lately. I've got 2 1/4-ounce heads on the bottom wire, and I've got 3 1/8-ounce heads on the top 3 wires. These are 3.3-inch baits on the outside and a 3.8-inch bait in the middle. A lot of those shad right now are around that 3 to 4-inch size, so this thing mimics them perfectly. I've got that rigged up on 18-pound fluorocarbon on an 8-foot medium heavy M1 swim bait rod, and this is a 7:1 gear ratio reel. Same exact reel, just a different rod. So where I'm throwing this right now is the edges of creek channels. I'm throwing this around stumps. I'm throwing this around the edges of bluffs. I'm throwing this around bridges. All that stuff, anywhere that you've got a lot of depth, and don't be afraid to throw that Alabama rig all the way out into 25 to 30 feet of water right now. A lot of these fish, especially these spotted bass, if you guys are trying to catch some spotted bass on Guntersville, a lot of them are in that 18 to 25 foot zone. So that Alabama rig is really good for targeting those fish. If you've got active target or live scope, it's really going to help your Alabama rig fishing right now. You can pan around. A lot of the fish right now, I will tell you, are super close to the bottom. So it's really difficult to see them on your active target or your live scope. So what I recommend doing is, if you think there's a fish down there, a lot of times the bass are going to show up right on the bottom and they're pretty hard to depict. I'd recommend throwing your Alabama rig out there, reeling it over the fish's heads, and kind of watching it with your active target and waiting to see if those marks rise up. If those marks kind of come up off the bottom and start following it, they're like 99, in my opinion, 99% sure that they're bass. If you see a bunch of suspended marks all over the place, those are typically other species. I don't know if they're a combination of like drum, skipjack, crappie, bluegill, catfish. I mean, you've got so many species in the Tennessee River that it's hard to say what they are. But I definitely recommend, you know, if you see an area that looks right, throw that Alabama rig over there, let it sink down a little bit, and kind of fish it about 2 to 3 feet off the bottom. If you can keep an eye on it with your forward facing sonar, that's a good distance off the bottom, is 2 to 3 feet. That's going to draw those fish up. And if they're bass, they're typically going to follow it. And if they're aggressive bass, they're typically just going to come up and unleash on that thing, and then you'll know, no doubt. So anyway, the Alabama rig works really, really good this time of the year on Guntersville. Another bait that you can throw kind of behind the Alabama rig, especially as a cleanup bait. Say you've caught 5 or 6 or 2 or 3 or whatever on the Alabama rig, and you know that there's some more fish in the area. I've got a spinning rod here. This is a Phoenix M1. All of the rods I just showed you are M1 series. As you can tell, I love the M1 series. This is a 7'2" medium action M1. I've got 10 pound, or actually 8 pound braid to a 7 pound fluorocarbon leader. Super light line. I like that because it allows your bait to get down there and swim more naturally. And on this spinning rod, if I can get my rod sock out of the way, it's all wrapped up. There we go. I've got a Nishine smelt head. And in my Nishine order, you guys will see, actually, I don't know if I'll unbox the whole thing on here, but I've got, in that order, I've got a bunch of these smelt heads. And this size in particular, this is a 2/7 ounce size. So it's kind of an odd size. I'll tell people that, and they're like, 2/7 ounce? What the heck is that? Well, it's, to think about it a little bit clearer, I mean, if you're good with math, it's pretty easy to figure out. But it's a little bit heavier than a 1/4 ounce, but it's a little bit lighter than a 3/8 ounce. I find this size to be perfect, especially on this spinning setup. I feel like I can fish this guy in 10 feet of water with a little bit quicker retrieve, or I can fish this guy all the way down to like 25 feet of water with a really slow retrieve and letting it sink out. On here, I've got a Gambler Little Easy. This is a perfect like 3.5 inch, 4 inch swim bait. I cut a little bit off the nose of the Little Easy and thread him on there nice and straight. And I throw this guy out there, do the same exact thing as what I do with the Alabama rig. Sink it out to the bottom, or actually with this, you can sink it out to the bottom. With the Alabama rig, I typically don't like to hit the bottom because it's a grabby dude. He will grab stumps, he'll grab rocks, and he will get stuck pretty easily. And you don't want to lose your $35 Alabama rig. So let this guy, you know, he can sink to the bottom. He's typically not going to get stuck as bad. And then just keep him winding about a foot to 3 feet off the bottom. And throw this in the same areas that you throw your Alabama rig, around those bluff walls, around those current seam kind of edges of the main river or creek channels where it kind of swings up against stuff. And basically what you're targeting is those breaks. You're targeting where it falls off from anywhere from 10 to 15 feet of water down into like 25, 30. And the fish right now are going to be sitting right on that break line. If you've got stumps, even better. A lot of times those big largemouth are going to be sitting next to these stumps. Like I said, your forward-facing sonar is really going to be a benefit when it comes to fishing around those stumps. You can get that Alabama rig or your Little Easy on your smelt head really close to those stumps and wind that thing over top of them and basically sight fish in the middle of the winter. You just wait for one to come up off the stump and hold on if he does. So anyway, guys, that is how I've been catching them on Guntersville lately. It's been a lot of fun. It's pretty straightforward. You don't need to overthink it. I would definitely pretty much just focus on winding baits this time of the year. It's basically just search and destroy. You're just going, looking for active fish, looking for fish that want to feed. If you get into an area with a lot of fish and you're not sure if they're bass or you're not getting them to bite and they're just following, just keep moving. Don't get distracted. Keep those fish in the back of your mind. Maybe try that spot a little bit later in the day. Try it, you know, a different time of the day, whatever. It could be timing oriented. It could just be that they're plain old not bass. So anyway, guys, that's my tips for Guntersville. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you some of the cool stuff I got from Nishine Lure Works just now today in a package. Let's see, where do I want to start? I'm going to start with the Simcoe 75. I was talking about that bait a little bit ago for the Guntersville fishing kind of report or kind of what's going on the lake right now. And this is a cool one right here. Check that out. That's like a black and blue. What does he call that? Black Otama. Super cool, black and blue. That is a unique color. You do not see a black and blue lipless crankbait too often. I have a feeling I picked a bunch of, I think I picked 4 of these up for down in Florida. That guy right there could be something different that the fish aren't seeing. It might even work really good out on Guntersville. In fact, I'm sure it would work really good out on Guntersville. Super cool bait. Excited to add that to the arsenal. If you guys haven't checked that out, you might want to add one to the arsenal too. Some other baits that I'm excited to add to the arsenal. I had to restock. I've got some more of these over there behind me. This is the Chippewa RB. This is one of Hiroshi's signature baits right here. This is one of the first ones that he came out with. It's a phenomenal little shallow diving crankbait. It's got a circuit board lip. All of his baits come with the Ichikawa treble hooks like I was talking about earlier. And yeah, just a great little crankbait. This thing works phenomenal around grass. It works really good around wood, rock, just about anything. I like to throw that little crankbait. It's kind of a cross between a round and a flat-sided bait. Works good in cold water, also works good in a little bit warmer water. There's those smelt heads I was talking about. I got a ton of those 2 7/8 smelt heads. Like I said, that's my go-to. Got a bunch of those in that box behind me. Let's see. Here's a couple of his jerk baits. I got the upside down. I got the Erie 115. I know it's glary. Got the Erie 115 SD and MD. The MD is a newer model he just came out with. That bait is going to get down deeper than the SD, but they both come stock with the outer weight system hanging off that front hook. And kind of what that allows you to do, if you leave that weight on there, it's going to allow that bait to sink. If you take that weight off, it floats. If you cut that weight, you can get it to suspend perfectly. So super awesome design. I absolutely love these jerk baits. They're a little bit bigger body design than a lot of the jerk baits on the market. So I think it kind of gravitates to getting a little bit bigger bite. It's a 115 millimeters. That's what 115 stands for. But it's just a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier body, but it definitely doesn't deter smaller fish from biting it too. Just a great all-around bait. Excited about the MD addition to the lineup. This thing's going to get down to like 10 to 12 feet on just a regular cast. And if you let it sink with that outer weight system on there, you can get this bait down to like 15, 18, 20 feet of water if you're patient and you don't have a lot of current. So pretty exciting addition to the arsenal there, the MD, Erie 115 MD. Here's more Simcoes, as you can see, BPB Chartreuse Shad, and then that other color is Matte Orange Tiger. I was a little off on that, but both, like I said, great Guntersville colors right there. Let's see, another couple baits, a couple of soft plastics that I got. This is the Nishine Namazu. Let me pull one of these out. Let me pull one of these out and show you. So the Namazu is a cool little bait. It's actually a baby catfish design. You can see its little whiskers up there. It's got a super thin little like tail that vibrates under like no movement at all. And this thing's heavily salted. A great way to rig up the Namazu is wacky rigged. It's going to fish very similar to like a stick bait or something along those lines. It's also really good on like a back of a jig. You can rig it up like on Hiroshi's finesse jigs. Right here I've got a finesse cover jig. That guy would pair up great on there. You could Texas rig it, but personally I like to wacky rig that guy a lot. And you can even Neko rig or Nico rig him, put a little nail weight in his nose, you know, hook your hook through the back, put a little O-ring or a little I like the VMC crossover ring, put him on there, and Nico rigged that guy as well. So cool little bait, the Nishine Namazu, and this is the 4-inch. It also comes in a 5-inch, which I've got some behind me. Another soft plastic that Hiroshi designed is the Drop Shot Minnow. This guy right here is a really cool little design. Super finessey, flat tail, flat sides, some really awesome, cool, clear kind of colors, really mimic bait fish well. I like this guy a lot for clear water, spotted bass, or smallmouth. It works even really good for largemouth too, but more often than not, I'm throwing this when I've got clear water, or if those fish are chasing around itty bitty shad or small like glass minnows or mosquito fish or something like that. That works really good. So that color is in Shiner, and that's the Nishine Drop Shot Minnow. Heavily salted. All of his plastics are heavily salted. Really nice designs. The last thing I want to show you guys here, actually no, I got two more things. So one of the last things I want to show you lure wise, this is the Nishine Finesse Cover Jig. This is a cool bait. He spent a lot of time designing this jig. It's a kind of a pill shape head, custom designed head. It's got a nice, perfectly stout weed guard, just enough to protect it from getting stuck, but not too soft to where you're going to pull it over a limb and hang it up immediately. All of his jigs come with a hand-tied brass wire keeper. That's going, or is it copper? I don't know. It's a hand-tied wire keeper, and what's cool about that is you can bend it a little bit. You can bend it flatter so it's not going to rip your plastic as much. You can bend it out a little bit more. It's going to give you a little more gripping strength. But that keeper is awesome. I mean, it's like gotta be, I think it's the best keeper I've ever seen on a jig. It really holds your bait on there. Once you put a jig trailer on there, don't expect to get it off whole. It's probably gonna come off in 2 pieces because that keeper works so good. But this has got a super stout little hook in it. You can throw like 15-pound test on that hook, no problem, and you're not gonna open it up. And that guy's perfect for if you're fishing around pressured fish or smallmouth or spotted bass. That's the finesse cover jig, and that's 1/3 of an ounce. So it's a little bit heavier than a quarter, but it's like the perfect weight. I really like that little jig. So then I got some hats, a couple of Nishine Lureworks hats. These are awesome. This is a beige color. It's like forest green. A couple nice additions to the hat lineup. And then I got sun shirt right here. Nishine Lureworks sun shirt. These things are awesome, super nice. So the last thing I want to talk about is, I know this has kind of been a long-winded video, but the last thing I want to talk about is some Fish Monkey gloves. So these are some of my favorite. I'm going to start at the wintertime gloves, and I'm going to go into more of my summertime stuff. So these guys right here, these are actually Hunt Monkey, but these are like basically the woolies, half-finger woolies, and these are really, really good if it's cold outside. These ones are actually still kind of damp. I need to let them dry. I just got them out of the wash, but these work really, really good. They've got a grippy pad kind of on the palm. Half finger design, gives your thumb enough mobility to feel the spool, gives the tips of your fingers plenty of mobility to feel the line, feel the bait, rig up, all that good stuff. So these are great gloves. They go up your wrist pretty good. I really like that design, that woolly half finger glove. So that's one that if you guys don't have in the arsenal, definitely check that out. And let's see here. I've also got these are the Tundras. These are really nice if you're driving your boat this time of the year. It might seem like a simple thing that you don't really need, but when it's freezing cold outside, having a boat driving glove, it's super nice. They slide on really nice and easy. These little loops right here are sweet design. You grab them with your other hand and boom, off comes your glove. Don't have to fumble with trying to get it off, having your glove inside out, all that nonsense. Cool part about these is you can actually fish with them. They're not ideal, but you can actually fish with them. Your fingers are exposed. You have enough mobility to where you can feel the spool, feel your line, rig up. And then when you go to take off and run, boom, you pop that little mitten over your hand and you pop your thumb down over the thumb and you're good to go. And you're wind protected and your fingers aren't gonna freeze to the bone. So that's the Tundra. They have a little snap that kind of holds the top part of the mitten in. So I really like that glove a lot. So those are a couple of my cold weather, kind of wintertime gloves that I like. Right here is a fleece face guard. This is also a necessity of this time of the year. It's got a perforated mouth, so you're gonna be able to breathe through that thing, not fog your glasses up as bad, and it keeps your face nice and warm when you're running down the lake this time of the year. Transition into my summertime face guard. This guy here is the same kind of design. It's got that perforated mouth on there, and it's a nice thin material, a lot thinner than a lot of the other face guards or buffs on the market. Keeps your face nice and protected from the sun. It's got a lot of UPF in it, but it's also going to allow you to breathe really well and also not fog your glasses up. And I'm like a big fan of that because I like to wear that thing up over my nose, and having these little perforated holes in there allows you to breathe and not get your glasses all fogged up, because that's super annoying. So that pattern on those, that green pattern, it's the same pattern that's on these gloves. These are my all-time favorite gloves that Fish Monkey makes, but that pattern is called Schooling Bass. You guys can see on there, let's see, yeah, you guys can probably see on there, there's some, you guys can see on there, there's some bass, you know, and it's schooling bass pattern. I really like that because a lot of times I'm looking for schooling bass. So gotta look the part, you know, and not to mention I like that color a lot. It looks like kind of like a green, yellow camo kind of deal. But anyway, these gloves right here, this is the half finger guide glove. And this thing, or these pairs of gloves, these half finger guide gloves, I've got a bunch of these. These are legit. So I like these a lot for a number of reasons. I'll kind of go over them real quick because I want to end this video. I don't want to make it too long-winded. So anyway, you got your fingers exposed, got your thumb exposed, you feel the spool really good, goes up over your wrist nice and far, and it allows you to basically do everything you need to do mobility-wise, but it protects your hands from spines, fish teeth, the sun, everything. These are the deal. Half finger guide gloves, check them out. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap up today's video. I know it's long-winded, but I wanted to go over a bunch of these things. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next time, catch you later. Hope you have some success out on the water this winter, And if you've got any questions for me, drop them in the comment section down below. Take it easy, guys.